Hi, this is Catherine Haar, and I'll be narrating Chapter 4, The Writing Process, Prewriting, Part 1. What is the writing process and prewriting? Prewriting strategies to generate ideas, freewriting, brainstorming, journalist questions. The writing process. What is the writing process? No writer can generate a perfect draft on the first attempt. Most employ a writing process, in which they begin with prewriting and invention, then outlining, composing, revising, and editing. Though the aforementioned might suggest a linear process, it is usually recursive. For instance, you might end up going back to the prewriting phase and do some brainstorming, even while writing the actual draft. The general rule of thumb is to invest some time brainstorming and writing a rough outline before writing the essay. Also, save editing for last. Sometimes it may be too difficult to juggle developing your ideas along with attending to grammar, so save editing for the very last step. Writing as a process, not a product. The iceberg diagram gives a visual image of the writing process. Below the waterline are the less visible parts of the process, and above the waterline represents the finished essay you do, the last polishing steps on, and then turn in. Unfortunately, many writers wreck themselves by just focusing on the final product rather than process. This can give you writer's block, and non-process writing is not going to be your strongest or best effort. What is prewriting? The prewriting stage, where you begin generating ideas on your topic without focusing too much on organization and correctness, allows you to begin creatively and to truly explore the scope and potential of your topic. Also, breaking the writing process down into stages makes it less stressful and more manageable and gives you time to figure out exactly what you want to develop and explore in your paper. Here are some successful prewriting strategies. Freewriting, brainstorming, journalist questions, listing, clustering, mapping. In this chapter, we will look at the what, why, and how of each of these prewriting strategies. What is freewriting? Freewriting is a technique that helps you generate content for an essay. Freewriting is writing continuously, letting thoughts unselfconsciously flow, often for about 5 to 10 minutes, without regard to spelling, grammar, style, etc., and no corrections are made. Because there are no restrictions on structure, format, or length, it allows you the freedom to discover what you want to write about without worrying about rules or expectations. Why is it important? It provides you with the raw material to help you start writing an essay. It helps you to bypass your internal critic who can make it difficult for you to explore your thoughts and ideas. It gives you confidence in your ability to explore a topic. It helps you develop your own unique writing voice and promote a solid flow or rhythm to your sentences. Most importantly, it teaches you how to begin any piece of writing. How do I do it? Start with a blank piece of paper or page on your computer. Give yourself a minimum of 5 minutes of uninterrupted time to freewrite. Write a few words at the top of the page to get you started and keep you focused, such as the general topic of your essay assignment or a quote from the text that is significant to you. Now begin writing whatever comes into your head when you think about this quote, the topic, and/or the assignment that you have been given. Try to keep writing without stopping, crossing out, or erasing. Even if what you are writing seems like it isn't correct or perfect, keep going. This is the key to free writing, to write freely. Go for 5 minutes without stopping. If you have more to say, keep going for as long as you can. Don't evaluate what you are writing, or you will stop the free flow of thoughts and ideas. Once you have a page or more of free writing, read back over it and look for ideas or points that you might include in your essay. Underline or circle sentences or groups of sentences that you especially like and think you may be able to use in your essay. Use your free writing as a springboard for your thinking about this assignment, directing you toward further reading, research, and the writing of the first draft of the essay. Example. In response to Chapter 7 in Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, do the following. Write a quote or part of a quote from the text by Frederick Douglass at the top of a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen, or your most recently assigned text. For approximately 5 minutes, write anything and everything that is triggered by the quote. Selected quote. I have often wished myself a beast. I preferred the condition of the meanest reptile to my own. Anything, no matter what, to get rid of thinking. Example. Frederick Douglass has learned to read, and after he reads a speech by Sheridan, he sees that his human rights have been taken away by slavery. He began to hate his enslavers. He says they are robbers who took Africans from their homes and brought them to America to enslave them and take away their human rights. Once Douglass can read, his thinking skills are stronger because he is exposed to ideas beyond his own experiences, and his understanding of the oppressive nature of slavery is even stronger. He says that his master Hugh was right. He feels a powerful feeling of discontentment that is so painful that he almost wishes he were illiterate and didn't know how to read and think. He is overwhelmed by what he realizes and says he wishes at times he was ignorant because he is tormented by the horror of slavery. It's ironic because slavery is dehumanizing, and Douglass says he almost wishes he didn't know what he knows and could stay ignorant. This makes me think about how reading and thinking help to liberate and enlarge our minds. And that's why in many countries run by dictators there is a high rate of illiteracy. If people are kept illiterate, they can be oppressed more easily. Being exposed to ideas can promote consciousness, which can lead to action. Frederick Douglass was changed forever by his ability to read, write, and think about his situation as a slave. This makes me think how all of us are enslaved in one way or another, and that by reading and thinking about it, we can free ourselves. Example. Ideas for an essay topic drawn from this example of free writing. How learning to read, write, and think about ideas is a liberating experience. How anger and discontentment can fuel awareness and action. The power of ideas to build consciousness. The irony of Frederick Douglass wishing to be a beast because of the painful truths he realizes about the dehumanization of slavery. Practice. Free writing practice. In response to Chapter 7 in Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, or your most recently assigned text, do the following. Write a quote or part of a quote from the text by Frederick Douglass at the top of a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen. For approximately 5 minutes, write anything and everything that is triggered by the quote. Pause here and do the practice. What is brainstorming? Brainstorming is like free writing in that you write down whatever comes to mind without stopping, but it is different because it looks more like a list of words and phrases than a string of sentences. Why is it important? It is easier to see the main idea when boiled down in a brainstorm. It helps you summarize the main concepts in the reading. It helps you see the main ideas that captured your interest in the reading. It can make complex reading more accessible. You can see many choices of paper topics emerging. It is fast and easy. How do I do it? Look back at your free write and capture the important concepts into words and phrases. Also look back at the text and pull out the main ideas and concepts. Example. Brainstorming example. Here's an example in response to Chapter 7 in Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. Forbidden to read and write. Humans treated as beasts, depravity of slave owners, abuse of power, slavery turning good people bad, reading and writing is dangerous, education and slavery incompatible, fear of rebellion, dehumanization, used white boys as teachers, impressive determination, bread for knowledge, both feeding, Christian country, rights to freedom, emancipation, liberation, slavery as indefensible, reading a curse or blessing, wretched condition, no remedy, ignorance is bliss, building consciousness. Practice. Brainstorming practice. In response to Chapter 7 in Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, or your most recently assigned text, look at your free write and capture the important concepts into words and phrases, and then add to it. Pause here and do the practice. What are journalist questions? Journalist questions are the 5 W's and the 1 H. Who, what, when, where, and especially why and how. The who, what, when, and where are relevant to summaries, while the how and why prompt you to examine the so what. Use ideas from your text, your free write, and your brainstorm and form them into questions. Through answering these questions, you can discover interesting information that you can use for writing. Why are they important? You may be asked to write about a topic or book, in which case you will need a means to generate the questions that most intrigue you. While who, what, when, and where questions are an effective means of gauging your comprehension, the why and how questions lend themselves to analysis, which is integral to any essay. After generating a list of questions, answer them. You may discover that a question generates multiple answers, some of them contradictory. Such controversy is often ripe for exploration and can lead to thought-provoking interpretations of texts. Answering complex questions is a way to form thesis statements. How do I create them? Look back at the text and then at your pre-writing and think of the questions that were raised for you, or circle concepts or ideas you would like to know more about, and then form questions around them. Example. Journalist questions. Here are some examples of the journalist questions using Douglass. Who were the main advocates of slavery? What were the writings that most affected Douglass? When was the period in which Douglass lived? Where was slavery the most prevalent? Why was reading considered such a threat to slave owners? How did the slave owners maintain control over human beings for so long? Practice. Journalist questions practice. In response to Chapter 7 in Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, or your most recently assigned text, create questions: who, what, when, where, why, how. Pause here and do the practice. And that concludes Part 1, Chapter 4, The Writing Process, Prewriting.